The NHL All-Star Game descends on Vegas, so naturally, we're looking at the NHL Awards futures.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back, everybody, to your daily source of hockey fantasy betting and everything DFS that you need to know. We are the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, a part of the Locked On Network. You make us your first listen every single day, and we really appreciate that. I am always here with my esteemed co-host, Steele Roden. He is a recent graduate of the College of Sports Media in downtown Toronto, and he is a expert YouTube content creator when it comes to picking winners in daily fantasy. I'm happy to have him as my co-host every single day. I'm your boy, Big Flip Livingstone. You can check out my work across all kinds of platforms, including CBC, the National Post, and the Scores app. And we are fired up for a NHL Awards special show today, Steele. We're going to be diving into some odds, and we're going future bets again because of the schedule that we're a part of right now in the NHL world. It's a little bit dry in terms of games, obviously, as the NHL's best descend on Vegas, as I mentioned. So we're going to be looking at some odds. We're looking at the Big Five awards for the NHL awards. Steele's got a couple of plays for a couple of other ones. So we're fired up today to feed you some future odds. Happy to have you back with me, Steele.
Flip, this is one of my favorite times of the season, obviously looking at the schedule at the halfway point, seeing where all the teams are at, seeing what the best odds are out there for, NHL futures, as well as, just Stanley Cup champion predictions. So one of my favorite parts of the year, Flip. I'm always happy to be here on the podcast with you, of course. I think the first one we have to get into, the big juicy one for me, is the Vezina Trophy winner.
Right. Yeah. Some of these things, and I think I mentioned it to you off air, is with these awards, you really have to pick your spots because I'll be honest, betting on them closer to award time, there's not usually a ton of value. By then, a clear-cut winner is at least kind of emerged, usually. So that's why this is a good time of year to really sink your teeth into some of these while the odds are still decent. Because even for an award like the Vezina, which right now, it's the New York Rangers, Igor Shesterkin's to lose. He's still paying plus 1.75. So for a guy who has been so sensational, and at this point, in my opinion, it's his to lose, that's still a pretty decent odd for a guy who's 22, 5, and 2, sits in the top 3 of all major categories, save percentage, goals against, and shutouts. I'm loving his game. We've talked about the Rangers a lot on this show, and I don't know what you think, Steele, but, at this point, it's got to be Shesterkin's to lose.
I think you're right. It is Shesterkin's to lose right now, but for me, I think Jakob Markstrom is right there beside him. It's a photo finish for me at this current stage in the season. Looking at the numbers, obviously Shesterkin at plus 170, he is the favorite right now, but looking at Jakob Markstrom at plus 1,800, I think that would be prime example of, sprinkling some money on a good odd like that. For me, Shesterkin, 2.10 goals against average this season compared to Markstrom's 2.20 goals against average. Shesterkin, a 937 save percentage compared to a 923 for Markstrom. So he's got him beat in that department as well. But Markstrom, 7 shutouts compared to Shesterkin's 3. So for me, both of these goaltenders have elevated their game and elevated their team this season compared to last season. The New York Rangers, they're in second in their division in the Metropolitan. The Flames are in fourth in the Pacific for their division as well. Pacific, I can't remember right now. Pacific or Central, either way. The Flames are in fourth in their division right now, and they have 5 to 7 games in hand on the 3 teams ahead of them right now. So the Calgary Flames have been a lot better than they have the past couple of seasons. Jakob Markstrom is the big reason for that as well. They're getting some offense from those top guys in Gaudreau and Elias Lindholm and Matthew Tkachuk. But for me, Jakob Markstrom is right there beside Igor Shesterkin for the Vezina.
It's an extremely juicy odd, and I'm glad you kind of brought it up because, we've been talking about good odds, and that's been our thing the last couple of episodes. He's got 7 shutouts, and we're only halfway through the season. That's a number that I don't think can be overlooked. I don't know what the single season shutout record is. I'm sure it's something crooked, but that's a really good halfway mark number for shutouts. He has been the catalyst for the Flames, aside from those top guys that you mentioned on their top line. One more guy I'll throw out there, because we are at the halfway point, and you never really know what's going to happen in the second half, is Andrei Vasilevskiy. He's arguably been the most consistent goalie over the last handful of years. Yes, he plays behind the Tampa Bay Lightning and, that studly roster that they employ. But at plus 550 right now, if Tampa goes on a little bit of a run in the second half, and that's anchored by Vasilevskiy, you might be, thanking us that you got him at a juicy number like plus 550. So right now, Shesterkin's to lose. I like your angle with Markstrom. And only time will really tell, won't it?
Yeah. It's for me, it's just the fact that Jakob Markstrom, I'm just looking at how the goalies have played and what they're doing to make their team better right now. And obviously, you're right. I agree with you with everything that you stated in Igor Shesterkin. He's elevated his team. He's been the best goalie up to date so far. But for me, Jakob Markstrom is right on his tail, and it's getting close.
I like that. I like that a lot. I think one of the awards, though, that isn't so close right now, and let's jump right over to it, is the Norris Trophy. This is actually on the betting board. The heavy favorite of all the favorites, it's Cale Makar at plus 150. I think for good reason. This kid is absolutely sensational. Exciting to watch him play, which doesn't happen a lot anymore with defensemen. He is one of those players that you tune in to watch. I don't know how the Avalanche have so many great pieces. Like, it's almost unfair how many awesome players they have, like really top tier elite talent. But in terms of the Norris, heavy favorite for good reason at plus 150. He's the prototypical defenseman. If you draw up a guy in your head, he's looking like Cale Makar, can move the puck, plays defense, big, but soft hands. It's like he has a little bit of everything going on, Steele. And if I was the other guys up for this award, I would probably already be handing it over to him, but I don't know what you think about that.
I think you're right. He is the clear-cut favorite. I do think it's a little bit closer than everyone thinks at this point in the hockey season. But you're right. Cale Makar is my favorite as well right now at plus 100. The top 4 scorers for defensemen right now have already won a Norris Trophy. Wow. Have already won a Norris Trophy before. Hedman back in 2018, Yossi in 2020, Adam Fox in 2021 last season. So I think for those reasons as well, because they already have won a Norris Trophy recently, I think obviously it probably will go to Cale Makar, not for that sole purpose or reason, but again, it's closer than everyone thinks. They're all within, 1, 2, 3 points of each other right now. They're all complete stud defensemen for their organization, but Cale Makar has just been on a different level this season, and he shows it every single time that he's on the ice and he's playing. So for me, I like what you said there. He is the clear-cut favorite, Cale Makar. I was looking at some other names. Obviously, it's very unlikely they do win the Norris this year, but I was looking at a guy like Chris Letang, even a guy like Aaron Ekblad, who's up there, and they have some decent odds at plus 1,200 as of right now. So though I was looking at those guys, I don't see it happening. So for me, again, Cale Makar is the clear-cut favorite as well.
Yeah, the hard thing is there is the second half to go, so we're kind of like crystal balling it a little bit here. So bear with us on that front. But the thing is and you mentioned a point that I didn't even realize. Adam Fox won the Norris last year. Like, this kid is absolutely the real deal. 5th round pick. I don't know how he slipped through the cracks like that, because defensemen don't come around very often that play a game that he plays. Right now, he's sitting at plus 450. And if I was looking anywhere other than Makar, it's got to be to a guy like Adam Fox. He's an absolute workhorse. He plays 25 minutes a night. He's got 40 assists already, 7 goals. And I think really is the heartbeat of that Rangers blue line. And without him, I don't know where they would be on the back end or in the standings, to be honest. So if you're looking down the board a little bit for some value, Adam Fox has a big second half. Plus 450 or plus 400 is going to be juicy, juicy, juicy. And I definitely, keep an eye on it, right? Because these odds are going to fluctuate a little bit. it is Cale Makar's to lose. Let's not get crazy here. He is the real deal and the Norris favorite for a reason. But if you're going down the board, definitely sprinkle a little bit on Adam Fox, and run with it.
Yeah, he definitely can make a play in the second part of the season. There are some juicy odds right there with Adam Fox, but what's also juicy is Alex Ovechkin at plus 400 for the Rocket Richard Trophy. That's my pick for the Richard this year. Ovechkin, he has the most shots in the NHL at the season, which is 23 more compared to the second player with most shots, which is David Pastrnak right now. Just like Matthews, Ovi is on a 4-game goalless drought right now. I don't expect that to last much longer. We are recording on Wednesday evening right now, so he could score Wednesday night against the Edmonton Oilers. We just don't know right now. But even then, after the All-Star break, I see him coming back, firing more shots on net, and just whipping them from his office. So for me, I've got Alex Ovechkin at plus 400.
Yeah, that's you almost want to see Ovi do it for the reason that he's chasing down that big overall goal record. But I don't know. Like I'm biased when it comes to Austin Matthews for obvious reasons, but he's been red hot of late. He really seems to be picking up steam, with a couple of big games against the New Jersey Devils. I know it's the New Jersey Devils, but goals are goals. And when it comes to the Rocket, he's the odds-on favorite right now. I think actually even money with Draisaitl. I believe they're sitting at the same odd. So this one is probably one of the more interesting races when it comes to awards. I gotta go with Matthews, even if I wasn't rocking blue and white. The kid is just special when it comes to that release. No one has a wrist shot. Not many players have had a wrist shot like that for a while, except for maybe Ovechkin. This is elite goal scoring company we're talking about. And, at the odds that he's at plus 200, plus 250, whatever it is that you can get it at, Matthews will be in the mix. It's funny that I don't even think we're going to really talk about a guy like Chris Kreider, who currently has the outright lead at 31.
I think he's at 33 now.
33,
33 goals, 33, yeah.
And he's sitting at I think plus 650 in places. I saw plus 700 as well. So I'm not going to go out there and tell you to take Chris Kreider because I really think that came out of left field. My pick is Austin Matthews, ride it all day, but value in Chris Kreider for sure, especially that he is sitting with 33.
I think there is some great value there. I can't even blame you for taking a guy like Austin Matthews. I was looking at him as well, but the odds for me with Alex Ovechkin at plus 400 were just a little bit better. Obviously with the goal in mind, like you mentioned, trying to chase down the great one, get the all-time goals in NHL history for that matter. So for me, Ovi, the great 8, Alexander Ovechkin at plus 400 for me.
Yeah, and if you're looking for good odds, the place you need to check out is betonline.net. It remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just football. BetOnline has up-to-the-minute info on pro and college hoops, NHL, boxing, UFC, you name it, all along with real-time updates on the current games. Do not wait to take advantage of all the new amazing offers available for the 2022 seasons. BetOnline, it's where the game starts. And on this side of the break, Steele, we're jumping into the rest of the awards here. We might even finish the show off with a little All-Star Game tease. We like to bet on a little bit of everything. The All-Star Game is in Vegas, after all. So we might get spicy with a couple of degenerate All-Star Game bets to end off the show. But let's jump into it, Steele. Let's jump into the next award. And I think we're breaking down the Calder Trophy, aren't we, my friend?
Yeah, it is the Calder Trophy. And this is when things get a little bit more closer and tight when you're comparing all of these rookie players right now. And, obviously with a guy like Trevor Zegras, who's the favorite right now at plus 170, he is the favorite. He has been really, really flash this year. He's done some incredible plays with his line mates, Sonny Milano, this season. So he's been absolutely
fantastic. Don't tell John Tortorella, though.
I know he doesn't like him. I won't mention it to him. But yeah, so there's a lot of, it's a lot closer in the Calder rankings right now, but I actually went with the Toronto Maple Leafs rookie, Michael Bunting.
Wow.
And, I was looking at a guy like Moritz Seider, even a guy like another Detroit Red Wing, Lucas Raymond as well. But Michael Bunting at plus 1,400 I think that's very, very great odds right now. And especially playing on that top line of recently with Austin Matthews, who we were just talking about for the Rocket Richard, his game is already elevated. And I compare him to a guy like Zach Hyman. I think he's filled Zach Hyman's spot on that top line very, very nicely. Obviously, there's still a lot of improvement and development there needs to be done with Michael Bunting. Like I mentioned, he still is only a rookie. But again, he skates hard. He battles for the pucks. He's physical. He goes to the front of the net. He can agitate the opponent. He's not an overall flashy player, but he does all the little things to perfection from what I've seen so far. And I like the way he's played, especially on that top line with Austin Matthews. The last couple of games, like I said, like we mentioned, against the New Jersey Devils, it is the Devils, but nonetheless, he has been absolutely fantastic the last 3 to 4 games on that top line. So for me, that is my clear-cut favorite right now because of how juicy the odds are.
Dude, you're getting me excited over here right now with this Michael Bunting talk. Shout out to Scarborough one time, and shout out to Fahmy Bakery as the best patties on the planet. I hope we're trying to get Michael Bunting a little sponsorship here, but yeah, shout out Scarborough one time. And Michael Bunting at that odds, just because you've said it now, I'm going to sprinkle a 20 on it because those odds are sensational. I'm doing it because that's juicy. Trevor Zegras is one of those guys that you tune in to watch. The Anaheim Ducks don't exactly employ a roster of players that turn the page for you, if you will. But Zegras is the clear-cut favorite. I'm going to stay away from it because I don't know if the mix of guys that he plays with, as in the offensively challenged dudes on the Ducks that he has to run with, like Rickard Rakell and those bums. I actually like Lucas Raymond. I like this kid's game. He's 5'11", by the way, so he's making up for what he lacks in size and speed and skill, and I love a player like that. 11 goals and 24 assists for 35 points in 46 games. This is my angle with this. The odd is better, number one. Number two, some of those offensive guys that he gets to play with the likes of Tyler Bertuzzi in Detroit, Dylan Larkin on that power play, I think leaves me a little bit more of an opportunity to have a big second half. So Zegras, don't get me wrong, high ceiling, probably got more talent and might have the better career. But if we're talking odds, which is what we're doing, I would look to a guy like Lucas Raymond to have a big second half. And you and I have talked about the Detroit Red Wings lineup kind of starting to really round into form with all these exciting young players, offensively gifted as well. So I like that angle for him to have a big second half, and I like Lucas Raymond as my pick for the Calder, especially with those odds.
Yeah, like I mentioned before, that was a guy that I was looking at originally. I did like the odds, but just looking at how, the Maple Leafs are just overall a better team. They're at the top. They're one of the top teams in the division, top three in the Atlantic, just right behind the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Florida Panthers. So
right.
They're trying to catch up to that top position in the Atlantic Division. Michael Bunting, for me, has been, up to this point, or I guess of recently, the best rookie that I've seen. But of course, it's so close. It's just really hard to tell at this point what's going to happen. But for me, switching over to the Hart Trophy.
Let's do it.
This is for me. I don't know who you've picked, but I have two options here. They have the same odds, and it's Jonathan Huberdeau and Austin Matthews at plus 800. Those are the guys that I have looked at. And the Hart Trophy it's the MVP. It's who the guy is that's elevating their team, not just offensively, not just defensively, but everywhere on the ice. Leadership in the dressing room. Just doesn't matter where it is, but just elevating the team to be the best they can. And both these guys, Jonathan Huberdeau and Austin Matthews, are at plus 800. Matthews is in the conversation for the Selke as well. He's completely transformed his game from his rookie season. He's way better. He's way better defensively. He's way more physical on the puck in the offensive zone and in the neutral zone. We already know his goal scoring capability is just off the charts here. And then over to Huberdeau. For Huberdeau, he is the most underrated superstar in the NHL right now, no questions. He doesn't get a lot. He doesn't get a lot of mentions across the league no one talks about him as much compared to like Nathan McKinnon, Leon Draisaitl, Alex, even his line mate or his teammate Alexander Barkov. He's got 64 points this season. He's leading the NHL to date right now. Mm-hmm. Most likely by the end of the season, it will be a career year for him. I think his career year was 94 points in a season in 82 games. For me, those two guys at plus 800, I love those odds.
Well, my friend, right at the top of my list was Jonathan Huberdeau. You knocked it out of the park on that one because the MVP should be looked at just like you'd mentioned, making the entire team better, not just the offensive check marks. And a guy like Jonathan Huberdeau, when I looked at those odds, I think, and they were already changing from the ones I got this morning. So I had him at plus 600, which I believe is absolutely juicy. This guy does a little bit of everything. The former third overall pick is leading the league in points and assists. And he has been absolutely sensational and a major reason Florida is the toast of the Atlantic Division. Also to note, last year he finished 12th in Hart voting. So he's already on the radar of voters in the NHL. You did mention the point that he isn't exactly talked about in those like popular general hockey circles. Like the dedicated circles know who Jonathan Huberdeau is and know what he can do. But I think also because he's playing down in Clearwater, Florida, he doesn't exactly maybe get the attention that he deserves. I think that's going to start to change as you start to see the season progress towards the playoffs, because I have a feeling he might just go absolutely beast mode in the playoffs as well with that taste of the cup on the lips. I mentioned he does a little bit of everything. He blocks, he hits, he plays on the top power play unit, he plays on the top penalty killing unit as well. And if that doesn't scream Hart characteristics and caliber, I really don't know what does.
Yeah, and that's why I love to watch the Florida Panthers. I've loved to watch them, especially this year, because of all the additions they've had over the last couple of years. Sam Reinhart, Sam Bennett, they've just elevated the team as well. But Jonathan Huberdeau is not just one of their best players, but he's one of their best leaders, and he leads by example. That's why I love the odds at plus 800 for Jonathan Huberdeau or Austin Matthews. Both those guys have elevated their game this season. They've changed. It's more Matthews this season than Huberdeau, but he's changed his game to, fit what his team needs right now. And that's why I love the odds for Huberdeau and Austin Matthews. And just before we get over to the Art Ross selections, this episode is brought to you by Rock Auto. With the increasing numbers of makes and models, it's now almost impossible for local chain auto parts stores to have what you need in stock. There's so many intimidating and often pointless questions that just don't make any sense, especially to me, because I get confused by car parts very, very easily. Yeah, so I'm not a car guy, but again, it's just very intimidating. Some pointless questions that don't make sense. It's very confusing. And then on top of that, it's just way easier. You have computers with access to rockauto.com at home or in your pocket with your cell phone. So you'll be able to save time, save money when using Rock Auto. And why would you choose to spend 30, 50, even 100% more for the same parts from a chain store or a car dealership? For example, a Honda Odyssey fuel pump may cost $350 from a chain store compared to Rock Auto, which costs $216. The prices are just absolutely ridiculous, very low, very reliable. So go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Right, Locked on there. How did you hear about us box? So they know that we sent you. There's amazing selections, reliable low prices, all the parts your car or truck will ever need from rockauto.com. Thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every day. Thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode. We appreciate all the support all of you can give us. It does mean the world to us. So thank you so much for tuning in, subscribing, and following. We really do appreciate it. Let's jump into the last NHL award we have for the day, the Art Ross Trophy. And this one to me, it's a clear-cut favorite. I think anyone would be truly, truly foolish to pick anyone else for the Art Ross Trophy this season. and that's Leon Draisaitl plus 170. He is the favorite, I believe, and that's who I'm going with for the Art Ross.
Yeah, the Art Ross is one of those ones that the last number of years has been Connor McDavid's to kind of run away with or lose, if you will. It's a tight race, right? And with half the season to go, I think this is one of those that if you do bet on them, maybe scale the bet back a little bit and maybe throw a few down because it is so technically wide open. Yes, Draisaitl is definitely up there as the favorite, but there's a lot of hockey left to be played. And you look down the list, like I'm looking at the top of the scoring table and like Nazem Kadri, are you for real right now? 60 points, Nas, man, good for you. Like I've talked about it at length. Seeing him grow up as a Toronto kid, good for him at 60 points. I'm not telling you to go out and bet on that. But just looking at the list, it's like, my goodness. I would honestly, you can't go wrong with a guy like McDavid. It's going to go down to those two guys in Edmonton, most likely. Flip a coin and maybe put a little bit of loot on both and hedge your bet. I actually don't hate that situation here. Hedging your bet might actually be the way to go with the Art Ross. So I'm going to go with a guy like McDavid. I don't know if you're feeling anyone else on that list, Steele.
Yeah, well, I guess we're going with the two studs in Edmonton, Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid. It always seems like it is, between those two. Obviously, it leans towards Connor McDavid just because he is, McJesus out there. But again, you mentioned Nazem Kadri. That is a name that I wrote down in my notes because he is at plus 2,200 right now.
Wow.
The odds are great because he is only 4 points behind Huberdeau, who's in the lead right now. But again, I think it's very, very unlikely Nazem Kadri wins the Art Ross Trophy this season.
Way too bold.
Yeah, it's bold. I wrote his name down. Just wanted to mention it, but I just wanted to say very unlikely. So for me, my top three guys right now would be McDavid, Draisaitl, and Huberdeau, but I have to go with Leon Draisaitl.
This is one Steele that, maybe you and I should make a little side bet on because I think it is going to go down to the wire. And also I think it's important to note that McDavid is still only 5 points back and has struggled this year. If you're talking about McDavid level, yes, he's had those highlight reel goals and some beautiful shootout winners and McDavid stuff. There's some nights out there where he's been held off the score sheet and multiple nights in a row. And we know what that means for Edmonton's success overall, but that has to be noted that he's still in the mix and he's been struggling. Maybe the All-Star break is exactly what he needed to reset. Maybe he's a little tired. We know he's not tired from shoveling snow because he's got the fancy self-melting driveway. Must be nice. But yeah, it's going to come down to one of those two guys. We talked about it yesterday in terms of the success of the Oilers. It's almost unfair that they have those two guys, but they still manage a way to, fumble it on the 1 yard line every year. But we'll see what happens with a lot of hockey left to be played. I would say it will likely shake down to those three guys.
Well, McDavid and Draisaitl, they can blame it on their goaltending because that's what I do for the Edmonton Oilers. And you know what? I will take the side bet action here. I'll take Draisaitl. You take Connor McDavid. And at the end of the year, we shall see who comes victorious. Everyone out there, thank you so much for making Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every day. Make your second listen Locked On Bets, your daily one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. Locked On Bets, hosted by your boy Q, with expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling. It's free and available on all platforms, just like this podcast. So make sure you go subscribe and follow to us as well. On your favorite podcast platform, as well as on YouTube. You'll get the latest episodes of Locked On Fantasy Hockey as soon as they become available every single day, Monday to Friday. Thank you again so much for tuning in for today's episode with Flip and I. Have a great day. Good luck with all your bets, your NHL Future Award bets, and we shall see you back here again tomorrow.
Peace.